Let's dive into Niko's training so we can stay consistent at home. Whenever we're working with Niko, we want to make sure that we reward the behaviors we want to continue to see. That way it'll increase the rate of those wanted behaviors. We also want to make sure that we follow through with the training equipment for the unwanted behaviors. So anytime that Niko's on a leash, we're going to have his prong collar on him. And first thing in the morning, we're going to put his remote collar on. That way we have it available in case we do need it. So let's dive in on how to use the equipment. So first, let's go over the prong collar. So how to put this on and take it off. So we are going to take it apart at the link and we're going to make sure they look like this so they're running in the same direction. We're going to then put our thumb in between the prongs and push down. So it's about technique, not strength. So you're pushing the prong up and through. To put it back together, we have to squeeze this prong and put it in the link so it lines up like that. Now we're going to put the leash on the D-ring. It's the one that swivels, and how we're going to use this is we're going to use it in a pop and release motion. So for example, let's talk about the heel command. Heel means walk next to me on a loose leash on the left-hand side. If you're giving him the heel command, that's where he needs to walk for the entirety of the walk. Now I recommend having your walk be 80-20, 80% structure where he's following us in the heel command, and of course you're welcome and encouraged to bring treats so you can reward him for doing a good job of the heel. And then the other 20%, you can give him the release term free so he can go sniff and explore. So free means you're done with this set command, free to make your own choices. So he can sniff, go to the bathroom, whatever, we follow him versus having him follow our pace. If we give him the heel command and he's not walking nice next to us on a loose leash, we're going to say no, pop and release the leash, and then remind him of what to do, heel. So it's no, pop, heel, no, pop, heel. That's how we're going to use the prong collar. And that's for other commands too. That's just an example using it for the heel. So now let's dive into the remote collar. So how to turn the collar on. So he has a little red dot right here. That is the on-off button to turn on the collar, but it's not like a button you push. It is a magnetic key. So on the side of the remote that you're going to use, there's a matching red dot. We're going to touch these two together. Green light means it's on. Red light means it's off. So it just takes a quick second to tap. Green light, the collar's on, ready to go. It'll flash green every few seconds to let you know that it's still on and charged. On the remote, the on-off button is in the back here. So it has a nice L in it. It also is a flashlight, but we'll talk about that feature later on. So we are going to push and hold that until the screen lights up. And you can see what level he's using on the screen, which is 25. Right now, we're going to focus on the black S button. We'll go over all the other features of the remote collar at the very end of the video. So now we're going to talk about the same command, heel. So he's walking next to us and he gets distracted and tries to walk ahead. We're going to say no, follow through with the black S button, and then tell him heel. No, heel. No, heel. So we're marking the incorrect behavior with a verbal warning, following through with the physical, and then reminding him of what needs to be done next. So you're going to use this with all of the commands. So we know heel. Same thing with sit. When we ask him to do a behavior, we're asking him once. We're not going to ask him 12 times. And if he chooses to ignore the command that he knows, we're going to follow through and say, hey, you need to do it when we ask the first time, not the 12th time. So how to go on about this? So let's talk about sit. Sit down and place. The stay is implied. So you don't have to say stay, stay, stay. Instead, you can just repeat the command again. So for example, sit with door manners. We're going to walk up to a door. We're going to ask him to sit. When we want him to stay there, instead of following us through the door, we're going to remind him sit, and then we walk out of the door. So you're saying it twice, but it's not because you're asking him twice. It's because you're giving him that reminder to stay. And then, of course, when it's time for him to get up, free to release. He can, when he does a good job, you can always reward. And when he gets up, before you say free or doesn't sit when you give him the command, follow through with the training equipment. Sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. It just depends on the situation. So if he's distracted because you're going for a walk and he's excited, I'd probably use the prong collar to say, hey, remember what you're supposed to be doing. If he doesn't sit when you're out already on the walk and you're crossing a crosswalk and you want him to sit, maybe follow through with the remote collar. It just depends on the situation, whichever one you think is better to get his attention at that time. So then we have down. So down is a little bit of a longer duration stay. Down means lay down and stay until he is told free. Now with down in place, we do not free from a distance. We always go back to him, and you'll see that in the videos coming up. We always go back to him, tell him good down, and then we tell him free. So when he's in the down, as we're walking and doing our distraction, or if we're with him and a dog walks by and it's a distraction, we remind him good down. So we're praising and giving that verbal reminder. And then of course you can reward low, letting him know that it's a good choice to stay in the down stay. When it's time to get up, we'll go to him and tell him good down and free. If he gets up before you tell him free or from the distraction, you're going to say no, follow through with both the remote collar and the prong collar, depending on the situation. The prong collar you're going to pull down towards the ground because you want him to lay down, and then remind him that verbal down. And hopefully you can recreate that distraction later on so that he can get a reward for staying in the down. So that way he understands, okay, when I stay in the down, I'll get a reward. If I get up though, I understand the consequence is the training equipment. So then place. So place, we're going to use like this box, for example. All 4 paws have to be on the bed for him to be doing the place command. Now he can stand, sit, or lay down as long as all 4 paws stay within the boundary. This is a great command to practice when people are coming over, and you'll see a great video example of that on what to do with your guests. So the best thing to introduce guests to Niko would have him on place. We are with him, holding the leash, safety first always, and they come up and they toss a treat onto the bed. The bed is the positive zone, so he understands that treats come from the bed. Whenever we reward, we don't put it directly in his mouth, we put it on the bed, and then he gets it from the bed, so that, again, this whole zone is a positive zone for him. So guests come in, they toss him some treats, they walk away. So this is creating a positive association with new people coming into his space, but without bombarding his space. It lets him get used to them a little bit without feeling the pressure of needing to go up to them. So this is a great way to introduce guests a few times before allowing him free to go explore. Again, once he's used to somebody, he gets along pretty well, but give him that time to get used to new guests coming over, and place is the perfect way to do that. If he gets off the bed before you tell him free, no, follow through, put him back on the bed. To release from place, we say free. We don't free from a distance. We always go back to him and the bed, and we tell him free and kind of wave him off with a little hand motion, which again, you'll see examples of that later on in this video. So then we have come when called. So when you're practicing come when called, when you're not in a fenced-in area, always use a leash for safety net. So like a 30 to 50 foot leash would be great. You're going to tell him free and let him sniff and wander around. And then when you want him to come to you, Niko, come. Praise as he runs to you, have him sit, and reward. We're going to reward this every time because it builds that positive association with coming to us when we call. Same thing with the other commands. We want to reward, so we build a positive association of him doing those commands for you guys, and it makes the transition a lot easier. If he doesn't come to you when you call, no, follow through with the remote collar, reel him in with the leash if needed, but use the remote collar first in that scenario, and do not practice off a leash without a fenced-in area until you've done this a solid amount of times, which making sure you're building that history and he knows the boundaries. If he doesn't listen in a fence with a leash, do not practice outside without a leash and a fence. You want to make sure he's a pro in the safe zone first, and then we go out to the fun zone. So anyway, back to leave it. So leave it, we're going to use it for a couple of different things. In the video, I show you how to play with him. I would recommend not using tennis balls and instead using something like a ball and a rope. That way you can grab it and it's a little more interactive for him. And then you're going to have him leave it, tell him leave it, which means step away from it. Have him come to you and sit, give him a treat, and then go pick up the toy. We're taking away the conflict of us taking something from him and instead just engaging in the play again. So there's a good video of that. Same thing with the food. If he goes over to Lulu's bowl, it's a leave it. You don't get to go over to her bowl ever, even if it's empty. So that's how you're going to practice leave it. If he still shows interest in that item after you've given him the command, you follow through with the training, of course, and say leave it. So that's how we're going to stay consistent with Niko. We're going to make sure, again, reward the behaviors you see from him that you want to continue to see. It's okay to give a lot of treats in the beginning, and then you can slowly pick and choose what's worth a reward later on. And then always have the equipment ready and on him and follow through. That way he understands the boundaries at home, because Niko likes to, see what the boundaries are. And if we let him push and push and push, we'll be right back in the same scenario we were in, and we don't want that at all. We want a nice, easygoing household, and that includes having Niko follow those rules. So have fun, stay consistent, and now we're going to show you Niko's commands in action. Heel. Still working with it. Oh, is that a new one?
Yep, same one.
Down. Good boy. Down. Good down.
Yeah, I can't get these out.
Good down. Good down. Good boy. Good down. Free. Good boy. Free. Free. Leave it. Leave it. You go to yours. Free. leave it. Okay, let's dive into the other features of his remote collar. So we kind of already went over how to turn it off. Red is off, green is on. So make sure it's on, ready to go. And I'll show you how to do that too before you put it on Niko. The on-off button back here, push and hold. And this, oh, see, okay, so I didn't hold it long enough and I turned on the flashlight. So then you just tap this button again and it'll turn it off. But let me hold it longer to show you how to turn off the remote. So you do have to hold it a few seconds. So then we'll turn it back on. Good to go. Okay, so back to this on-off button. So if you tap it once, tap it twice, you can see him at night. Super cool feature to have on him. So when you put this on him, I'm going to shut that off for a second. Make sure you have the light facing out. That way you can see him, because if it's facing towards his shoulder, you're not going to be able to see the light at night if you need it. To make sure that this is on, the T button right here, vibrate. So you can feel it. It will actually vibrate in your hand while you're pushing it. So I like to make sure I push that a few times before I put this on Niko. That way I know that it's on and ready to go. So he can wear this all day, every day. What you just want to make sure is that when you're putting it on him, every couple days it's over here, every couple days it's over here. Just because it's like wearing a watch. If it rubs and there's sweat or something underneath there, you need to rotate where you put your watch so it doesn't cause like a skin irritation or anything like that. This does have to fit snug so that it has less of a chance of rubbing, because if it rubs all day because he's scratching or rolling around, that can also cause a skin irritation. So it does have to fit snug so that these contact points make good connection with his skin, but also to prevent that rubbing. And we'll talk about like it's waterproof and everything like that here in just a second. So vibrate is the T. The button you're going to focus on is the black S button. That is level 25. The red S button is for emergencies only. That is going to add 25 to the level on the screen. This you would use if Niko were to take off for the road chasing something and you call him and he is at a high drive, high adrenaline. He's up here. Level 25 only reaches down here. So level 50 is to snap him back to reality to get his adrenaline lower so that we can communicate with him. Now we haven't needed this with Niko, but you have it just in case you need it. And just be careful, don't push the red button unless you absolutely need it, because it is going to be a bit intense for him. But that is in case he is running for the road and he's put himself in danger or something like that. So now we have this little M/C button. You really don't need to worry about changing it right now. It's at momentary. So that means even if I push and hold down this button, it's only going to stimulate that quick second, that moment. Continuous will stimulate for longer, and we use that at the beginning with a lot lower level to associate the collar with treats while doing the command, so it's a positive association with the collar for him. The light. All right, and so the level for Niko can change. This can change with environment, age, practice, all of this can change the level. So how to change it? Right now you see that it's locked, so even though I'm turning the dial, nothing's happening. So I'm going to push down and hold it. And now you're going to see that the 1D at the top is flashing. So you can turn the level down, you can turn it up, whatever you need to do. When to do that? Let's say you have him at home and you're having to use level 25 a lot. It's not really phasing him. It's not doing it's not getting his attention. That's when it's time to turn it up to 30. If you're noticing that he's having a dramatic reaction to it often, like once in a while, this is going to happen because it might startle him for a second. But if you notice that his reactions to the level are becoming more dramatic, it's time to turn it down to 20 or 15. So that's just going to happen over time. Dogs change just like we do. So you're going to set it to the level you want, push down and hold it, and there it should be ready to go. Perfect. This is rechargeable. This is also waterproof, so make sure that's closed. That way dirt and debris don't get in the area where the charger goes. Same thing for the remote. It is waterproof, but of course, if Niko goes swimming, you want to make sure that you take this collar off, dry him thoroughly before putting it back on. Again, it fits snug, so we just don't want dirt, oil, and debris getting under there and creating like a hot spot for him. In here, we have the charger. So it should last 2 days on a charge. I would charge it every other night, take it off at night, put it on first thing in the morning, unless he's going to be in a crate or something like that. Then take it off if he's going to be in a crate. But he could wear it 12 to 14 hours a day, take it off at night. And so if you turn the collar and the remote off at night, you should be able to last about 2 days on a charge, but you can charge both at the same time. He doesn't have long hair, so I didn't worry about putting on the extended prongs, an extra lanyard, and a clicker. You can use this for training, but you would associate that click with getting a treat. And instead of having to carry a clicker with us, I just use the praise, good, yes, and let him know that a treat's coming. This is the manual that goes over all the buttons in greater detail. There are other features you can use with the collar, but for the most part, we went over everything you need to know with it. It does have a 2-year full warranty, so if anything happens to the collar in the next couple years, contact the manufacturer and they can send you a replacement. And then, of course, let us know if you're having any trouble. Maybe we can troubleshoot what's going on here too, but they have really good customer service when it comes to that. So that's the remote collar in a nutshell. Again, with the training, you want to make sure you have this on him daily so that you can stay consistent daily. Dogs are very smart. He'll figure out when the boundaries are firmly set and when they can be bent a little bit. So he will eventually figure out what this is if we're not super consistent with it. So make sure first thing in the morning it goes on, last thing at night it comes off. That way you can follow through and stay consistent throughout the entire day with Niko, and of course bring him to daycare and everything, boarding with it. We can take it off when he's boarding and we can put it on during daycare. That way he can have fun and play around. All right, so that's it for his remote collar. Have fun, stay consistent. Let us know if you have any questions.